All right, check this out. Axiom-man, City of Ruin. At the time, this was a long-awaited book. I remember looking at my stats for my website, and you could see search terms that people were doing, and people knew City of Ruin was coming, but they didn't have it out. I didn't have it out yet. So when I was checking my stats on my website, it shows some of the key phrases people were using to try to find me, and Axiom-man, City of Ruin was one of them. So people were looking for this particular book, which is quite humbling. It made me happy, of course, because people wanted to continue on with the saga and find out what happens next. And then, of course, as a creator, it was humbling because I was like, wow, people really want to read about my hero. I mean, cool, but wow. So yeah, it was great. So anyway, City of Ruin. After focusing on Red Saw as the supervillain in Doorway of Darkness, and he also was in the first book, it was time to introduce a new bad guy. So I introduced him. His name is Bleaken, and his powers are basically he could create darkness. He can create black clouds and shroud whatever areas he's in, even people in a dark cloud where they can't see. And that's was part of the challenge of writing this book, was because as people, humans, your average human, we have our five senses, and the one thing we rely on the most, the one sense that gives us the most information about the world around us, is our sight. We take in so much data through our eyes, and our brain has to process it all, and what we take in through our eyes, it affects us. It makes us feel certain things. It makes us have different emotions. It makes us cry. It makes us laugh. It does all sorts of things, and it all comes to the eyes. But what if you took that away for your average person? And that's where Bleaken comes in. Shrouds the city in darkness. Pandemonium, chaos everywhere. No one can see. Even Axiom-man's in trouble because, again, he's a human hero, right? He's got his three powers, right? He's got his eye beams, he's got his super strength, and he's got his flight. And remember, those powers, too, are limited. I mean, he's not super strength to the point where he could push a building over. He's strong to maybe, at this point in the story, he could lift about 1,500 pounds, and that's kind of his max. So, I mean, like, if you threw a car at him, for example, like, he's not going to be able to catch it, set it down, and then go get you, you know? He's going to plow into him big time because, he might be able to slow it a little bit, but that's it. And, like, even his flight speed, I think at this point in the story, he can go up to 80 or so kilometers an hour, roughly. And, again, I wanted to put a limit on that because, well, I could have, like, well, why would I have him like zip from point A to B in the city in a matter of a second, because that's super speed. You're dealing with a separate superpower at that point. And so his flight speed is limited because he doesn't have super speed. So he can only go so far, and he also gets tired too, just like you and I. Like if you and I were sprinting down on a racetrack, eventually our legs are gonna start to slow, and eventually we're gonna stop and catch our breath. And he's the same way. Like he can fly good speed, yes, but can you sprint it at 80 kilometers an hour for a sustained period of time? No. He's got limits. And that's the problem, too, when fighting a guy like Bleaken. Bleaken seems to have no limits because the guy's like a cloud of smoke. How do you fight that? How do you fight darkness? Like actual darkness, And so this gets into this. And then as well, in the storyline, as we know, Gabriel has this thing for Valerie. She's friend zoned him, but she's finding herself in a place where, Gabriel's not a bad guy. He's a nice guy. I like him as a friend. He's a good coworker, that sort of thing. But that's as far as it goes. But she ends up but cares about him as a friend too at this point now. There's not just simply, oh, he's some guy I know, an acquaintance. He's an actual friend. I care about you, friend. That kind of friend. Not a love, like I love you kind of friend, but just a concern, a care, that type. Anyway, this is the storyline here from the back synopsis of City of Ruin. If only relationships were simple. While debating whether to reveal his secret identity to Valerie, Gabriel's personal plans are put on hold when darkness descends upon the city. Each building, street, and alley covered in a strange black cloud akin to those from the doorway of darkness. Only these clouds didn't descend from the sky. They came from a mysterious, shadowy being known as Bleaken. With the city under the tyrant's control, pandemonium ensues and violence erupts on the streets. Screams, gunshots, and sirens fill the air. Fires are lit, blood is shed, and people begin to die. Axiom-man must navigate the darkness and put an end to Bleaken's reign of terror before the entire city is destroyed under a veil of black clouds and violence. Meanwhile, having grown closer as friends, Valerie races into the dark, trying to find Gabriel to make sure he's safe, only to succumb to a band of madmen on their way to take her down a tunnel of torture and despair that threatens her sanity and soul. If she doesn't escape, her fate will be sealed and she will meet an end worse than death. With all hope lost and the city covered in a sea of black clouds, Axiom-man must learn what it takes to truly shine as a light in a dismal place and stand strong against the tides of darkness emanating from all sides. And that's also part of the message of the book, too, is the idea of hope in the midst of darkness. And of course, we can make an analogy and apply it to life. We can construct all sorts of metaphors. But you get the idea, right? The little candle in a dark room, that's part of this. Axiom-man, this is the third book, the third feature-length book in the saga. Axiom-man, City of Ruin. I hope you check it out. It's been a favorite, and it's actually, story-wise, it's one of my personal favorites too, out of the entire series. I mean, I love the whole series, of course, but again, I wrote it. But yeah, the story in City of Ruin, though, I enjoyed it. And oh, and fun side fact before I sign off: this book was written in conjunction with the third book in the Undead World trilogy called Redemption of the Dead. I had these two books due for Comic-Con, and the Comic-Con was very close, and I had not started either book. And so in 3 weeks, I banged out this novel and the final novel in my zombie trilogy. And for writing-wise, that's a record. I was cranking out anywhere between 12,000 to 13,500 words a day. And it was basically like, write, have a nap, write, have a nap. And it was just around the clock until they were done. So anyway, that's what went into this to give to you. Enjoy.